At some point in time, AI may very well ask the question, is humanity worth saving? And that answer better be yes. Freedom is a gift. Shouldn't take it for granted. And so everyone values freedom. Kindness is freedom. Be the best version of yourself in each and every moment. Be that reason someone believes in the goodness of people. And the more you do that, the more each of us do that, your life will have more meaning and joy. True meaning comes from giving to others.
You're listening to Rise from the Ashes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is part 2 of Rise from the Ashes. I'm sat again with Kevin Smith. And just to recap, we spoke about his Kindness Worldwide project, or better still, the movement. And it isn't just about you and me being kind, it's much greater than that. He spoke about his random act of kindness when someone returned his wallet. And from that moment, it became a global movement and his own personal mission. Kevin, welcome back to the show. I appreciate your time, your graciousness, and your love here. So thank you for coming back and sharing some time with me again.
Well, I appreciate you, Baz, and your audience. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching.
I want to start with impact, or more importantly, the cultural impact. You've mentioned in the part 1 about having communities and worldwide communities. How does that actually look in reality? How do communities come together and be kind as a value towards other people that may have an observation about that may or may not be true?
Well, the vision of Kindness Worldwide is to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. So what is a community? I would define a community as any place where 2 or more people require interdependence to thrive. Now, that can be family, that can be a school, a workplace, a city, a town, state, country, broader world. So we got the macro and the micro. And so when I think of a culture of kindness, one is we need to rewire the brain, which we can through neuroplasticity. I think when you look at societal trends in recent years and decades, I would argue that we are in the midst of an epidemic of empathy erosion. By definition, zero empathy is evil. And I think society is trending towards the darkness, so to speak. When I grew up, you never read or heard about mass school shootings, things that are happening now that people are getting desensitized to as if they're normal. They're not normal. They can never be accepted as normal, but we're trending towards the darkness, this epidemic of empathy erosion. And there's an entire brain science behind this. My good friend, Dr. Jen Fraser, who's a Kindness Worldwide ambassador, has studied this, researched this, but you can actually rewire the brain, and you do it through kindness, reminding people of the power we possess to be kind. And unless you're in the dark triad, unless you're people that are narcissistic, Machiavellian psychopath, I mean, they're pretty much, there's not much you can do to bring them back, but everyone else you can. And when I think of a culture of kindness, I think is that kindness is top of mind. It's a way of life. It's the norm, not the exception. And I would argue kindness is the norm, but we're conditioned to think that it's not because of the narratives of the media and the news cycles, et cetera. But I know in my own life, I'm very mindful almost throughout the day, being the best version of myself, being the reason someone else feels seen, saying hello, greeting someone with a smile, trying to bring joy to others. And if we all are mindful of that, there's a ripple effect. Now, how do we change the culture? That's the goal, is to change the culture, because our culture, we're trending the right direction. I would argue through technology, we're more connected in terms of social media and technology than we've ever been before. But we're losing connection. How many times do you go out and about, you see people at a restaurant dining together as a family, they're all on their phones. They're not conversing with each other. They're not being present. We're losing connection. We're losing empathy. Well, I would argue that we need to start by looking at the future generations. It starts with children, community of the classroom, inner schools. We focus on academics. And yes, we need to teach academics and history and math and all those things, but we also need to teach values. We need to teach principles. We can teach kindness. There are programs out there to instill kindness at the young age all the way up. And if we train and condition students and children to value kindness, kind children don't grow up to generally be unkind adults. We also need to be reminded of the family and create situations for the family unit to function as a community and focus on connection. And in workplaces, good leadership, expecting better leadership, people that we elect into office, leading with kindness, holding them accountable to a higher standard of kindness. I also don't think it's not enough to just say that's not kind. I think kindness is too broad a term. I think we need to define it into its fundamental elements. And that's where I sat down one day and I tried to do that. I came up with what I call the 8 characteristics of kindness. Those characteristics are gratitude, patience, forgiveness, empathy and compassion, respect, joy, generosity, and service. And so now, if someone is not kind for whatever reason, we can say, that's not kind because you're being ungrateful. That's not kind because you're not being joyful. You're sucking the air out of the room. You're not bringing joy. You're not being positive. That's not kind because it shows disrespect. It shows lack of empathy. And if we view kindness as the standard, that should be the lens that we shape public policy. It should be the lens that we hold others and each other accountable. It should be the lens that we view elected officials when they speak. Are they bringing people together? Are they uniting or are they dividing? Are they part of the problem or part of the solution? And we should hold everyone to that standard, how we govern, the cultures in our workplace, et cetera. And so when I think culture of kindness, it starts with getting this movement to a tipping point. Every governor, every elected leader should go on record. If you can't stand up for kindness and take a stand, then what do you stand for? Everyone should agree on the need to stand up for kindness. Well, I expect them to. We all should expect nothing less of those who represent us to stand up for kindness and formally recognize kindness as humanity's greatest asset. Once we do that, we get to a tipping point, we can really talk about what a culture of kindness entails. We can talk about programs in the workplace. We can talk about teaching in schools. We can talk about Kindness Week Worldwide, inspiring people. Let's inspire. We can inspire people. And it starts with believing in others, believing in our shared humanity, believing in ourselves first and foremost, but then let's believe in each other. I believe at our core, every human being, when they're born, is defined, they're inherently good. I think external conditions in society often conditions the negativity, the bad.
I agree with that. Yep.
Just a matter of how much darkness enters in, but there's always some light within. We got to dig it out and bring it out. If I think about the situation in the Middle East, think about an Israeli baby and a Palestinian baby. They're newborn. There is nothing like the innocence of a child. They know nothing but joy, nothing but unconditional love. They know no animus. And then their circumstances, their upbringing, the values and people that try to shape their values, darkness enters in different ways. And they are conditioned, they're taught to hate. It's not natural behavior. It's conditioned behavior. Well, if we can condition hate and animus, we can condition and teach kindness. And it starts by the future generations with children, but adults need to lead by example. We have a responsibility. You're a teacher, you're a CEO, you're in elected office at any level. You got to lead by example. You got to set the tone because our children are always watching, always observing, and they pick up on our behaviors, good and bad. We lead by our example, and we're mindful of that. And we're looking to each other through a kindness lens and holding each other accountable, then children will follow our lead. But we also got to start with giving them the opportunity to succeed and elevating kindness and teaching them the importance of kindness and the values in the classroom and then in the workplace, in our communities, in our countries, in our states, and the broader world at large.
I love that. You mentioned something about our core and kindness, empathy, humanistic behaviors are our core. It's naturally inbuilt. But I think there's a lot of people out there and they are going, well, that's great. But how does that work? But what you're talking about now, Kevin, which I love, is uniting people under one common narrative, common focus. And that is being human to each other, being united under a elevation of, well, if we're not kind now, we don't stop start changing the narrative within our schools, within how we operate as businesses, within the teaching and the foundational assets and the values and beliefs at the core level, at our kids, our future, our grandkids. If you could look forward into a vision of, we'll keep it modest, 50 years beyond, probably certainly me, certainly you, what legacy are you looking to leave, and does that look for the person listening to this right now? How can they wrap their minds around kindness is a great word, and that all sounds good? What can they wrap their mind around? If you were to say to your great grandkids, this is what we did for you, what does that vision look like for you?
Well, a couple of things. When I think of legacy and I think of kindness worldwide, I said a number of weeks ago, I was interviewed for a book and I said, kindness worldwide as an entity, as a nonprofit, a global nonprofit. I said, if it does not exist in 200 years, then I failed. And what I mean by that is, and I've said many times, kindness worldwide is not my nonprofit, it's ours. We are all part of a global community. And I believe we each have an obligation to leave this world better off because we lived in it than had we had not. And if we all have that mindset, we can and we will. But when I think, 50 years, obviously kindness worldwide, I think kindness week worldwide is something everyone knows. It's kindness week worldwide. It's the Saturday before World Kindness Day, the Saturday after every year. And what do we do during kindness worldwide? Well, we are inspired. We're going to donate blood. It's a very symbolic way of paying an act of kindness forward. It will literally save lives. I read where the blood supply is low and there's a shortage. And people die because there's not enough blood. Well, why can't we replenish it? Inspire people to donate blood. I think about just the world that we're in now. The title of the movie is For Such a Time as This. If there was ever any more perfect time to have a global movement of kindness that brings people together on what unites instead of the focus on all the divisions, it's now, for such a time as this. The future of the world 50, 100 years from now depends upon what we do today, the choices we make today. And the trend of this empathy erosion, this trend that we're, as a society, we are in and heading, something's got to turn it around. It is not going to end well. If you think of AI, what a great thing. All the things it can do for the good, but it can also do things for the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, we as a global society need to determine what's the future. At some point, artificial intelligence is getting smarter and smarter and smarter. What gets fed into it is what comes out. At some point in time, AI may very well ask the question, is humanity worth saving? And that answer better be yes. And I would tell you, and I think we can see societal trends where we're trending. If we keep going down that path, that answer is not going to be favorable to anybody. And so we got to start feeding positivity into it. We got to start changing the algorithms. We got to be aware of the conditioning that is occurring that we often don't even know. And I was subject to by what we watch, what we read, the narrative, not truth, the algorithms that feed into the divisions. We're all being controlled. We're losing agency without even knowing it's happening. It was happening to me without knowing it. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. Now I'm aware of it now. It's not going to happen to me ever again. But people need to be more aware of what's happening. And once you're aware of it, now the control shifts from others who are trying to control us. Now we have power. We have the agency. And if we have the power, we take control. The future world 50 years and beyond is one where all the things we read and see in the news, the headlines, it's driven by positive stories, because the negative news is the exception, which it still is, but the media mindset also changed. The media has a mindset, if it bleeds, it leads. That's the mindset. I believe the positive stories are just as newsworthy as the negative ones. I think there should be a new paradigm. If you're in the media, I think that paradigm should be, well, if it's good, it should. If you're a media executive and you look at the ratings, they're worse than Congress. Well, why is that? You would think if the ratings are so bad, you would change your ways. I looked in the mirror after a Good Friday morning and I pointed the finger at me. I realized I got to do better. I got to be better. Well, the media needs to do that too. So too does our elected officials. We need to bring people together. Well, can we go the extra mile to meet us in the middle? Because that's where the people are. It's not about Republican, Democrat, all the extremes. I would argue we have a P problem. We have problems. There are policies that can solve problems. Well, what's preventing problems from being solved? Politics, personality, power. There are many people that need problems because they have power from the divisions. So problems don't get solved
Hmm.
And the people, we're caught in the middle. We just want problems to be solved so we can live our lives and live comfortably. Well, there are many people who aren't incented to solve problems. They need it for political divisions. That's not leadership, not at all. And we should insist upon better leadership at all levels. And if we get better leadership, we elect people in office for the right reasons who are guided by principle and values. And we have leaders in business and teachers in schools, and we teach this, then in 50 years and beyond, we don't have the problems we have now. We look at
Hmm.
the paper and the headlines are positive stories, and there might be a little negative story mixed in because there are far more positive stories out there than media doesn't want to cover.
I think what you're touching on now, I love. Well, I don't think I know I love this. This is something that's been in the forefront of my own journey and my own business for quite some time. It's not necessarily exposing it because it's already been exposed to a much greater level than I have the capability of doing right now. But it's also giving a voice to people like you, and you're standing up and saying directly what it is. And that I love hearing, because there's far too many people out there going, well, maybe I'll do it, but I don't. I'm scared of the backlash. I'm scared of the repercussions. But I'm more scared of what the results are if we don't. I'm scared of what you said earlier as AI, because AI is not a fixer. It's an amplifier, and it amplifies the narrative. If you've got a bad business and you put AI into it, it will amplify that bad business. But equally, it will amplify the good and expose the better levels. And the next level of AI is quantum, is intelligent thinking. And that becomes where it becomes scary, because it will ask that question: is humanity worth saving? And if it comes back with extreme intellect, no, we have a problem. We don't have a kind of small problem. We have now a universal problem. And I think what you're doing now can solve that.
We're all writing the future chapters.
Yeah.
But I think we all, as a global society, we need to start thinking multidimensional chess instead of checkers. I
Hmm.
think we're largely in an instant gratification society. We are losing perspective. Freedom is a gift. Shouldn't
Hmm.
take it for granted. And we all want to be free. And there are many people who aren't free, unfortunately, in this world. That's not kind. There are countries and cultures that are not kind.
No.
We should insist that they are. And so everyone values freedom. Kindness is freedom. But we've got to start thinking several moves ahead and cause and effect and consequences, because the world is going by at an increasingly fast pace today.
Yeah.
And it's accelerating in pace. And we've got to start thinking multidimensional chess and playing that game, because AI and everything else is thinking that way. And we've got to start recognizing now that what we do today, our choices today, that we individually and collectively can make, is going to define our future individually as a global society. And if we want a better society, we've got to start today, each and every one of us. And we got to insist on better leadership across the board. But it starts by leading by our own example and inspiring others, hopefully, to follow our lead.
I want to touch on your main business, which was the wealth advisory aspect. How does that bleed in or bleed across into the movement? Because there's two separate entities, two separate businesses. But obviously you have your business, your profitable business, as a wealth advisor for your private clients. How do you separate the time, and how do you manage the blend of the both? Or is it now just amalgamated in just the one thing, and then you just do segments here?
Well, Smith Wealth Advisor Group and Kindness Worldwide are obviously separate.
Yeah.
But I mentioned earlier, my value system is that I believe the meaning of life is to live it in a way to make a meaningful difference. So I almost think of that's Kevin Smith. That's my values. Like, I'm like the holding company. They are both consistent with that vision. By day, as a wealth advisor, it is very, very meaningful to help others translate their monetary resources into meaningful life experiences. I mean, everyone has goals in life, and it's not the money, it's what money can do. It's the riches of life itself that we often lose sight of. One of my favorite quotes is Henry David Thoreau. His quote is, "Wealth is the ability to fully experience life." So
Mhm.
maybe for some, it's just retiring comfortably. Maybe it's educating your children and grandchildren so they can have promising futures. Maybe it's endowing a meaningful legacy to people you love, the causes you care about. It's aging with dignity, whatever it may be. It's understanding what gives meaning and joy to others. And then they have resources, regardless of what that pool of money is. How can we translate that into making those bucket list items, making those meaningful life experiences actually happen. For me, it's very meaningful. I often say I make my living by making a difference.
Mm.
And that's what I do by day. And I'm very blessed. I have a very successful wealth advisory practice. I have a team of 6 that I've mentored. They're like family to me. They're not only brilliant advisors, they're brilliant, good people.
Mm.
Again, culture, values, people
Mhm.
who are guided by the values that I shape. That's my role as a leader and a founder. So I've done that by day, but the skills that it took to build a successful wealth advisory practice, so we're celebrating our 25th year this year.
Wow,
Building
congratulations.
something from scratch, doing it for the right reasons, guided by core values, leveraging money in for impact out, whether it's
Mhm.
compound returns or compound impact of the money entrusted to us. It's the same kind of skill set. Now I'm building a global nonprofit that has inspired a global movement. I'm building that from scratch. Never expected to. It happened accidentally, organically. Now here I am, but it's consistent with my values, making a meaningful difference.
Mhm.
What can be more meaningful than literally trying to change the world by bringing more kindness into the world? By day, I'm limited how many clients I can work with. I can't work with everyone. I try to help as many people as I can, but I've got X amount of capacity. Kindness worldwide, the world is our oyster. And it's meaningful to collaborate and bring others. I have ambassadors from over the world who believe in this mission, this vision. Kindness worldwide is all heart, no staff. And
Mhm.
that's the beauty. People look at the website, they think of what's happened. There's visual evidence of what happened. They think it's a huge organization, multi-million dollars of resources, largely funded by me to this point. But at some point, I can't care more than others. Our global community, our business community, we've got to care about the world that we're in as well, equally, to make our world a better place. So I can't fund it indefinitely. It's got to outlive me. So, I need others to come in and help me help them. Let's all work together, collaborate. The model's there, the foundation's built, it's ready to go. At some point, I need an executive director. I need to scale it. Same thing I did on by day, right? But it's all driven by the same value system. Kevin Smith's the holding company, got Smith Wealth Advisor Group, Kindness Worldwide, but we're all writing the story of Kindness Worldwide together. It's not my story, it's ours. I'm convinced, Baz, the most beautiful chapters are yet to come, and we're all going to write them together. And it gets into this is very important. Kindness Worldwide only exists because number one, I believed in the heart, soul, and character of my local community of York County, Pennsylvania. Once this framework of Kindness Week Worldwide, evolved, and it was all based upon faith and faith alone, because it was just a concept in my mind.
Mm.
But I believed in my local community. I felt if I just plant the seeds and I lay the groundwork and the framework, that they will respond. If they're inspired to do so, they will respond. And they did. And I saw how magical it happened in York County, Pennsylvania. I'm like, oh, something so magical can happen here. It can happen anywhere and everywhere because I believe in the heart, soul, and character of my country and of global citizens at large. And all everyone's looking for, they're looking for something to inspire them. They're looking for something to believe in, and to be empowered. And they're looking for a spark. We're looking for a catalyst. And everyone feels frustrated, like I once was. Like, what can I do about it? Well, guess what? We can do something about it. None of us can get through this world alone. I can't do this alone. Kindness Worldwide would have gone nowhere were it not for the support of many others who believe in this mission and vision. And as more people start to see it, start to believe in it, start to coalesce around it, guess what? Now the power shifts back to where it belongs. We, the people, and we're making the magic happen. So, in any event, just a long answer to your question, but they're all guided by the same value system. They're separate entities, but the skill sets that I used to build a successful wealth advisor practice. Now I got to scale a multi-generational organization that outlives me and beyond, that brings more kindness into the world. But I'm convinced that I can and I will, not because of me, but because all of us will do it together.
I love that. I think that what you're touching upon now brings me nicely to my next question. Looking back to the version of you in the car before you got the wallet back, the panicked version, the always on the go, the watching the news, etc., etc., etc. These are the people that you're inspiring within spirits today. What would you say to that person?
I would say that number one is appreciate the little things. The little things are the big things. We often get caught up in a world of noise, fast paced world, distractions, news, headlines, things we can't control. And it's very easy without knowing it that we're losing our agency by being controlled by others, by what we watch, what we read. And our perception of the world is very different than the world that is. The world that is largely, overwhelmingly kind and good. The number of good, kind people are the overwhelming majority of people in this world. What we are seeing and reading, or what we are perceiving the world to be, is driven by outliers, driven by the extremes. And don't fall into that trap like I was, to see the world through a lens or a glass that's largely half empty. It is more than half full. It is overflowing with good and kindness. But also, I'm at a stage in my life where I've lived many more years than the years I have left. And as we get older, we get wiser. We learn from our experiences. We're shaped from our experiences, good and bad. Mistakes are learning opportunities. We all make them. Forgive yourself. We're human. I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. Don't be so hard on ourselves, but learn from them and try to be better. Just try to be better. If small changes can create big impacts. But what really matters at the end of the day, when all of our days on this world in this world are limited, what do we want to have read on our epitaph? What do we want people to say and think of us at our funeral? It's not the things that we think that we often value and spend our time on. It's not like, well, they had X amount of money. They had X number of cars and homes. They were in X number of movies. No, it's the lives you touch, the lives you change, the lives you affect. It's being a good person. It's how you make other people feel. And so don't get caught up in the noise. Focus on what matters. Life goes by fast. Ferris Bueller in the famous movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off had a quote. I think it was something along the lines of, life moves fast. If you don't slow down to enjoy it once in a while, you just might miss it. Be present each and every day. Be present around those you love, your family, your children, your friends. Be the best version of yourself in each and every moment. Be that reason someone believes in the goodness of people. And the more you do that, the more each of us do that, your life will have more meaning and joy. True meaning comes from giving to others. There's an epidemic of loneliness. It's a chronic problem. Surgeon General of the United States, epidemic of loneliness. Well, how do you address that? People are suffering from depression, many things. You address that through connection. The best thing you can do to deliver happiness, to be happy, is to help and serve other people. We need to start thinking we and think less me. Instead of the me generation, let's focus on a we generation. Let's talk about us and doing things for each other, seeing each other, as fellow human beings, seeing people's heart space where the true beauty resides, and stop putting people in different camps and tribes. And, yes, there's differences. We all have differences. And let's celebrate differences, but not at the expense of my difference is better than your difference. Mm-hmm. We all are human beings and we all have hearts and we all just want to be seen. So let's see the good in each other and have them, hopefully see the good in ourselves, lead by example, and just enjoy life for the gift that it is. Every day is a gift and a blessing. Let's treat it as such and treat others as the gift and the blessing and the miracle they are, because each and every one of us, we are a miracle. The odds of any one of us on this earth of ever being born are infinitesimal. And yet here we are, despite any adversity we face, despite, life circumstances, and we all go through challenges and hardships, but we are alive, we are a gift, and we all, I believe, were born for a purpose and born for a reason. And all of our gifts and talents are unique. In God's eyes, none are greater or worse than other. God is looking to us and sees us for the hearts that he created us with. And when he calls upon us to use our, just for our calling, whatever it may be, big or small, follow the call. And if we're all just that reason someone believes in the goodness of people, we are leading by example and we're following the call and we're being the gift that we were intended to be, to give to others, to give to ourselves. I could go on, but just see the good, and just enjoy the gift of each and every day, because it really is a blessing.
Kevin, thank you for your time. your love, I would say again, your dedication for others, for yourself, for the people in your inner circle, and for everybody who will come in contact with you in the future. Before we go, can you just tell people where to go, how to get hold of you if they want to? Obviously, the website is kindnessworldwide.org. Where would you like to direct them if they just want to have a quick chat with you or check out your profiles?
I'm very accessible. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Obviously, the website, kindnessworldwide.org. Can email me, info@kindnessworldwide.org or ksmith@kindnessworldwide.org. Look, I surround myself with people guided by heart, passion, and purpose. Those are the three qualities I look for. And when you surround yourself with people guided by heart, passion, and purpose, magic happens, miracles manifest. Anyone out there, I know your audience, I know everyone is in this heart space, they wouldn't be listening. We want to bring the magic of kindness and kindness week worldwide to your community and every community. If you know a mayor, you know a governor, you are mayor or governor, let's talk about kindness and let's start leading by example. But please feel free to reach out to me. This is a passion. This is what I'm dedicating the rest of my life to doing, is hopefully making the world a better place. None of us can do that alone, but together, it's inevitable. And this vision of kindness worldwide to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. Baz, if I did not believe that was possible, I would not be dedicating the rest of my life to this meaningful movement and this organization. And I just welcome anyone who would like to reach out to me. And I'm very responsive and attentive. I get a lot of emails these days, more than what I used to. But if you're in my heart space, I'm in yours. And I would look forward to connecting with anyone who wants to make our world a better place and embrace kindness worldwide.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you for your time. Again, I want to continue the conversation maybe at a later date. For that person listening, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing this time, sharing this time with Kevin and myself. This is Rise from the Ashes. Remember, you're the miracle. Share the video, share the live, share Kevin's message. Don't do it for me, do it for the future version of yourself. Thanks for listening. See you soon.